This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the Sean Anderson.
Dub the Mees.
Yeah, you see,
I know my lines.
You got it.
I know my lines.
Sean filling in for Mark is, it's honeymoon week for Mark.
Congrats to Mark and his lovely wife.
Congrats to Mark. We both had a great time at the wedding.
I danced. Ricky didn't.
I did the Macarena.
I danced with a woman.
I did the Macarena. You
for 15 seconds.
Did
and it was very awkward. And thankfully, Brandon saved me because she was weird.
I saw through the patio window. It was quite funny for me and Dave on the other side.
She said the words, "You make me feel young," and I was like, "Thank God Brandon showed up because that was awful."
Sean got a little nervous. It's okay. Got further than I got. But we're going to continue our previews that we're doing here for football. This is what we changed it, Sean. We really changed it for you. I know Mark had his wedding and he wasn't going to be here this week, but we really did this for you. We could have done the AFC East last week and stuck you with the NFC East. Then you'd be talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean,
you
who
don't
wants to talk about the Cowboys? The Cowboys are really terrible.
Yeah, the Cowboys don't even want to talk about the Cowboys. But we're looking at the AFC East. We're going to get right into it. If you're new to the onside kick and how we do this, we start with the bottom feeder and we end with the Super Bowl champions in this case.
Well, and I just want to clarify this. Yeah, I want to clarify this. All teams that aren't the Patriots are bottom feeders in the AFC East. So, yes. I mean, really, the Dolphins are the only one that has given us a chance.
East. I like how you said AFC East. I thought you were just going to say all teams in the AFC are bottom feeders.
I can stay with that, too.
All teams in the NFL are bottom feeders.
Very true.
I thought you might have said that, too. But we're going to look at the Jets. And I think this one's easy. Like, the starting point for this is the focal point to any football team, the quarterback.
Yeah.
Do you go with Josh McCown? Do you go with Bryce Petty? Do you go with Christian Hackenberg? I know that Mark and I a while back did a segment where we talked about Hackenberg specifically, and could this be the year that he really breaks out, or does he show improvement? But if you are Todd Bowles, who are you leaning towards at this point? McCown, Petty, Hackenberg?
At this point, I would say Bryce Petty, just because he did play last year for a little bit, knows the system. You saw a little bit what he was able to do. It was nothing special. I mean, he was sitting around, 55% completion percentage.
Yeah.
Threw a ton of picks. Wasn't really that special. But at least you know what you're getting out of him. And then I would go back to Hackenberg after, because Josh McCown is the safe bet. I mean, Josh McCown's going to be your safe bet out of these three to be your starter, but he's not going to, you know what he's going to bring. I mean, he's been in the league for so long. He's not going to have his super unreal jump. He's not going to be able to have a Ryan Fitzpatrick year of, 2 years ago? Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Last year was the dud after Brandon Marshall got him that contract.
So 2 years ago, he's not going to have a huge spike. So, Josh McCown's going to be able to be a decent quarterback, but he's not going to be anything great. Bryce Petty wasn't anything great, but maybe, being in this system to start, maybe that will help. Maybe having a healthy team as well will help Bryce Petty. So right now I'm leaning towards Bryce Petty, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hackenberg took over him.
I think the goal for this season is, the ultimate goal for the end is Hackenberg. Hackenberg has to play, at some point this season, it has to shift over. Whether you start Petty first, whether you start McCown first, and maybe, I know there's some people out there, McCown could lose his starting job before we even get to training camp, just because of the pressure that you have on, we drafted Christian Hackenberg, we've had him now, we kind of have to I feel like the Jets might have to start him. I want to say sooner than they want to, but at this point it's come on, shit or get off the pot.
What else do you have on that team? I mean, you have Bryce Petty, been in the league for 3 years, was nothing special last year. He can't stay healthy. You look at Josh McCown, he's been a backup quarterback for his whole life. He had that one good season in Chicago, but outside of that, it was before then, his last good season was 2010 or something like that. You look at Hackenberg, you haven't seen what he's able to do. You select him in the second round. He was a guy that was, before the season he was drafted, so 2015, 2014, he was praised as a really decent prospect because you saw what he did in Bill O'Brien's system at Penn State. and then he kind of fell off the map. So, I mean, there is some potential there, and you got to see what you have in all of your quarterbacks, and you have seen what you got in Bryce Petty. You know what you're getting from Josh McCown. You have to see what you're getting from Christian Hackenberg before you move on and go and draft another quarterback, because you don't want to take a chance in the first round at a quarterback if you already have one that is capable, and Christian Hackenberg are on your roster. So I think Hackenberg is definitely going to be forced into the starting role at some point in this season. I think probably best to start him at the beginning of the season, but I'm I'm leaning right now that Bryce Petty will end up starting. But I think Hackenberg it would probably be best for Hackenberg to start the season.
If Hackenberg is smart, or if any of these quarterbacks are smart, the guy on the offense that they make their best friend is Matt Forte. And the reason why I say that is I look at this offense, and I mean, you could kind of say Bilal Powell as well, but I would say more so Matt Forte because he's the number one at running back. I look at the wide receivers, and I don't, like last year it was like you had Brandon Marshall. He's now on he's in the blue of New York.
Yeah.
Then they have Eric Decker. They release him, or they tried to trade him and released him the week that Brandon and I were at VidCon in California.
He's in a different blue.
And he's in a different blue now. And I look at this team, and I know the Jet fans are going to probably come out and say, well, we still got Quincy Enunwa. He was our leading receiver last year, only had, I want to say 4 drops on the season. He can be a solid number one for us. I'm sorry. I look at this receiving core and I go, if I am any quarterback on this team, I am scared because the 2 receivers that I am the most excited about are my new tight ends in Austin Seraphin-Jenkins, who kind of got ran out of town in Tampa Bay.
Well, he had an alcohol issue.
And my rookie in Jordan Leggett, the guy from Clemson.
Well, and also Darius Stewart. I'm interested to see what he can bring to the table. I like that selection for them in this year's draft in the 3rd round. So I like a Darius Stewart. I like Seraphin-Jenkins. I mean, he's a guy that has a lot of athleticism to him. He's got a big build. He's got a nice package to him. So I think if anyone that I'm relying to out of the young quarterbacks that I would rely on would probably be Seraphin-Jenkins because he has shown the ability to not only be in the NFL before, but he does have the package. He has the it factor that you want in a tight end. So I think Seraphin-Jenkins has proven before for a little bit in Tampa Bay that he was a reliable kind of go-to guy for Jameis and previous
guy.
Yeah, and previous quarterbacks before. So Seraphin-Jenkins, I think that's going to be the guy that you're going to rely on, and then Forte out of the backfield. And then I think, Enunwa is going to be a guy that's not going to be able to be a Pro Bowler. I don't think he's going to be anything super special, but I don't think he's a bad receiver at all. I think he's going to be at least a capable number one until you go out and get a number one. And even after that, I think Enunwa is a decent 2, a decent 3. And then I look at Darius Stewart. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do. I really liked him coming out of college. And I think that, I don't know if he's going to make a huge impact right away, but he might have some ability there. And also Robbie Anderson had a decent season, and Marquise Wilson, former Bear. I'm interested to see what he can do because he was never able to stay healthy, but he does have a lot of tools on it. So this is a very unproven Jets team, I would say, outside of the running back core because you look at Forte, obviously, Forte and Bilal Powell. Those 2 guys have obviously been in the league before. Powell had a nice season last year when healthy. Forte's been great before. You look at the quarterbacks, obviously most of them are unproven outside of Josh McCown, but you know what you're getting from Josh McCown. Leggett, like you mentioned, is going to have to make himself kind of available and out there. Enunwa's got to prove that he's a 1. Robbie Anderson's got to prove that he can be a decent wide receiver out there. Marquise Wilson's got to prove that he can stay healthy, and then obviously Darius Stewart's got to prove that he's something out there. So I think it's a very unproven team as a whole. I mean, at least offense-wise.
Well, and I look at it, and to me, the reason why you might be sitting there and going, guys, you haven't even touched the defense, because here's the only thing I want to say about the defense before we get back to the offense is the defense is the most solid part of this team, and to me, they just got even better with their first-round draft pick of Jamal Adams. And just to make the point of why the offense is so important for the Jets in 2017, last year, the Jet defense gave up an average of 25.6 points per game. I'll live with that. I will live with about 3 touchdowns if I have to. But it's
more than 3 touchdowns.
But it's
that's 3
touchdowns in like a field goal.
3 tutties in a field goal.
Yeah. But if I'm sitting around that 20, if I'm sitting that 21-25 area, I'll deal with it because I'll expect my offense to put up points as well. But when your offense last year only averages 17.2 points per game,
they couldn't move the ball at all.
Well, and that's it. You can't move the ball. There were games last year where you're only scoring 3 points in a game. You cannot let that happen if you want to win football games.
And the one thing, too, you got to look at this offensive line. I mean, it's nothing special. This offensive line, I mean, especially losing Nick Mangold. I know he's been banged up, but I mean, that was the guy that...
And that was the guy they cut him, I believe.
They cut him because he's been super injured.
Yeah.
He hasn't been healthy at all. I mean, and Mangold's kind of lost his production as well. But I mean, that's a guy that you always look to be the guy that kind of held down that Jets offensive line. And, outside of that, I mean, Kelvin Beacham's been a guy that's bounced around. James Carpenter's been a guy that's bounced around. But outside of that, there's no names that you like, oh, yeah, I recognize this guy. Or, I know what this guy can really bring to the table. I know this guy's going to be able to, block the blind side or be able to stop, open up lanes up the middle. I mean, this is a very unproven offense in every single facet outside of the running back position and then outside of McCown at quarterback. So really, this is going to be a huge learning curve for this offense. And I wouldn't expect anything out of this team because, yes, the defense is good. I mean, you have a ton of players on there. Leonard Williams, high draft pick and has been highly touted before. Muhammad Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson. I know Wilkerson is pretty much getting run out of town, but he's still on the team.
And he's always in trade talks too.
Yeah.
Trade talks or cut talks.
Darren Lee is fantastic. I mean, I didn't think he had a fantastic rookie season last year, but he looked at someone like you see the offensive. You see the athletic abilities there, and you see what Ohio State was able to bring out with Ryan Shazier, and I see a lot of that in Darren Lee. Demario Davis is a capable linebacker. Morris Claiborne, they picked him up. He looks decent, and has been decent throughout his career. Hasn't been anyone who's going to be a shutdown corner, but he's not terrible. Buster Screen's pretty bad. Jamal Adams, though, obviously we love him. Shamarko Thompson's decent, and then you look at this defense. There's some holes there, but it's something that we'll be able to get by. Well, and it's the offense that they really got to prove themselves.
And the thing that I kind of sit here and I go, I'm kind of a little nervous about is the schedule and who they're going to be playing because. Like I said, the defense is, if I'm putting my money on either the offense or the defense for this team, I am putting my money on the defense performing better. Duh, Ricky, that's such a hot take. But I look at this schedule, and it's not that easy of a schedule. You get to play the
Patriots choice, obviously.
Yeah, that's the second highest scoring offense last year.
The Dolphins, too.
You play the highest scoring offense last year in the Super Bowl runner-up, Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, it's at home, but you still get to play the Falcons. You play the New England was third. The second was New Orleans. You play them on the road. You're playing Arrowhead. You're playing at Tampa Bay, which Tampa Bay could be an improved team this year. Jacksonville, are they going to be the team this year last year we kind of hyped them a little bit.
You hyped them.
I did. I thought they were, on paper, they are the best football team on paper, but they just can't get it together.
You want to clear that up. The Jacksonville Jaguars are not the best team on paper.
The most promised, they are the one that when I look at young talent on paper, I go,
they have the most potential.
They should be able to put this together and at least make the playoffs.
And maybe get 8 wins.
Yeah.
Okay, Jacksonville's nowhere.
Super Bowl. I'm not saying a Super Bowl.
The way
you
were talking said they were the best team on paper. Cool.
I look at the team and I kind of like them on paper.
But I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying some people might take that as you're thinking they're the best team on paper, which is not what you're saying.
They are not the best team. That would be the Patriots. Sorry, Sean. I had to throw it out.
Well, not even the Patriots. There's a lot of teams that are better on paper than
the Jaguars don't have Tom Brady on the roster.
Houston might be the best team on paper in the AFC South, let alone the Jaguars.
But the point is, I look at this schedule. Miami's tough. New England's obviously tough. Buffalo to me is kind of a coin toss because, the Jets beat them twice last year, but Rex Ryan was at the helm last year. You get a Saints team with Adrian Peterson. Denver might be a little bit better this year with their Simeon entering his second year as the starter of that team.
And then also Denver's defense.
Denver's defense as well. Jameis Winston and that team could look better this year. The Falcons are obviously a good team. Oakland, you get them on the road week 2. I just don't see a scenario where this Jets team walks into the schedule with the offense and quarterback situation that they have, and I don't see them pulling out more than 3 or 4 wins on this route on the schedule.
I was going to say 4 wins is probably the max that this team can get. It's not like the Jets are, they have nobody on this team that are NFL players. There's obviously capable players both on this defense and offense, but it's just there's not enough there to put anything that's going to be, off the wall. And unless Hackenberg is something fantastic, I'm really looking
at
this team.
The second coming of Brett Favre.
Yeah, I'm really looking at this team to draft a quarterback next year, and whether that's the guy out of USC. Josh Rosen.
Allen, whether it's Rosen, whether it's Darnold, whichever one, I feel like they have to go with one because they're going to be a top 5 pick, probably a top 3 pick.
Well, yeah, if they're getting 3 or 4 wins, they're definitely going to be
they're
up at the
probably
top.
going to be a top 5 pick for sure next year. And you kind of took my question of next year, will we see a quarterback be drafted, and will Hackenberg kind of be pushed out of town after 1 year with really kind of half the job?
I think it depends on. I don't think he'll be pushed out of town. I think he'll just be pushed to the backup role, and it also depends on what he does. If he performs and succeeds, then they might not look at quarterback as a need. So then they won't go with it. So it really depends on his performance and his chance. I think that Hackenberg does have the potential, but then again, there's not a lot around him. And how much can he show that potential, and how much is he really going to be able to grow? So
at
I think
the end
Hackenberg
of the year,
might be.
What do you think it's going to be?
I think they'll be drafting quarterback. I think they'll be drafting quarterback.
So you don't think Hackenberg's going to have that potential, big year?
I don't think that with what is around him. Both from the offensive coaching staff and then the offense around him, I don't think that he will succeed. I think that if and when he does succeed, I think that'll be on a different team than the New York Jets.
No, I completely agree, and I think that the thing, like I said, I feel most sorry for Christian Hackenberg is he is going to come onto a team when he does start. Could be week 1, could be week 7, could be at the end week 13. We don't know, but whenever he does start, he's going to walk into an offense where it's like, I have nothing to work around me. What do you want me to do?
He might also get lit up. I mean, this offensive line isn't that great, like I mentioned before. So this team, I mean, Hackenberg can get banged up and start like 2 games. I mean, it's going to depend. And then you also have Petty and McCown, who are both, broken bones waiting to happen.
Well, and this is where I'm going to turn the conversation on to you guys. Jets fans, let us know down below in the comment section. What do you see from your team? Who do you want to see at quarterback? Tell us about Christian Hackenberg. Everything about the Jets, let us know down below in the comment section.